It is good to be back because, for me, anyway, this means I still have a job. So the Governor McCall did reappoint me, so there's still a reason for me to be here, and I'm glad to be here. And last year we were kind of in the thick of value-add, on-farm activities, and today I'm actually looking forward to talk a little bit more about other things that we're doing in the Secretariat, and then also kind of update you on some things we're seeing on the value-add processing side. But just jump right into it. The current state of agriculture in Virginia, it was actually the last 5 years, from 2007 to 2012, was a pretty good time period to be a farmer in Virginia. Market value of production increased 29% to almost $4 billion. Farm production revenue increased 33%. We actually reversed losses of farmland in Virginia for those 5 years. Whether or not we'll sustain that is an open question. Obviously, the housing market went down, development went down, so it certainly released some of the pressure on undeveloped land. We are losing a few farmers, although that's mediated a little bit, and farms are actually increasing in size. And the big challenge for us here is our farmers are getting older. So we've got to figure out a way how to replace our aging workforce. Economic impact of agriculture. Ag and forestry are two of the three largest industries in Virginia. $70 billion impact, 52 in ag, 17 in forestry. We provide over 400,000 jobs and have ripple effects across all kinds of industries. And we're more than 10% of all Virginia jobs. So we're a pretty big sector when you combine ag and forestry together. Back in 2010, this is kind of the inflection point, I guess, with growth, where Secretary Haymore was appointed by Governor McDonald to be secretary with the idea of incorporating agriculture and forestry into the overall economic development plan. Again, like I said in the previous slide, number one and number two industries, and they hadn't really been in that central focus of economic development. And so Secretary Haymore made it his mission to try to leverage that and really make us part of the economic development discussion. Going into 2014, Governor McCall, and you all will see him tomorrow, and I think you'll probably agree, he is raw energy. He's everywhere, and he told Secretary Haymore, I love what you were doing the last 4 years, we're going to beat it. So with that small mandate, we moved forward. He actually, at Secretary Haymore's introduction for his reappointment, the governor said, we're going to be the East Coast capital for ag exports. That's the marker he's laid down. Depending on the rankings, we're probably 4 or 5 right now, but it's certainly something that we can do. And the emphasis really going forward is we built an infrastructure for our exports. We need to now utilize that with trade missions, as well as promoting our own domestic economic development with new capacity, new businesses there, and then obviously increasing port utilization, since that's where all our exports leave. So, our top priorities: international marketing and ag and forestry development. We are continuing to work on increasing our export numbers, finding new markets, building on existing markets, and then on the ag and forestry development side, really identifying those sectors and those industries that we can continue to leverage and build on in Virginia that will serve both domestic demand and international demand. So kind of our mandate within our Secretariat, Secretary Haymore is really the Chief Marketing and Recruitment Officer for businesses in Virginia dealing with agriculture and forestry. He takes that role very seriously, traveling overseas, traveling within the state, traveling across the country, whether it's down in North Carolina, out California, he's been to Chicago as well. So it's recruiting and trying to build the case for business in Virginia. We are very big on the no silos, which maybe that's bad for agriculture, but we don't want to, we want to work with all our partners. Secretary Lane was here earlier. We are part of the V-Trans discussion about building a better transportation network and accommodating agriculture, whether it's the rural roads in Augusta County, finding ways to get tractor trailers out of the port more quickly or into the port more quickly. Agriculture has a vested interest in transportation solutions. We also work a great deal with any of the other Secretaries of Commerce and Trade can be a very big partner as well for us. So we work with Virginia Economic Development, we work with the Virginia Tourism Corporation. Just about anybody who let us in the door, we'll work with and figure out how to leverage our partnerships. Again, the private sector is a big deal for us on all of our economic trade missions, whether international or domestic. We have companies that come with us. We're making those introductions. We're trying to find needs overseas that our growers and producers might be able to meet. And so we treat it very seriously to try to find the private sector partners to engage with there. Foreign governments, a very big part of our strategy. I think that just myself individually, we've met with the ambassador from Qatar, we've met with the ambassador from Japan, we've met with the Consul General of Japan. All of those conversations had to do with economic development. They all had to do with what can we do to increase trade with your country? What can we do to increase investment back into the Commonwealth with new businesses, expanding businesses, those types of things. It's really, it is amazing the people that Governor McAuliffe knows and who he can pick up the phone and call immediately. And it's a great asset for us to have. And we continue to look at our diversifying our market, product portfolios with what we're producing, and then increasing our VDAX presence overseas through trade offices. The importance of exports, the numbers kind of speak for themselves. They generate nearly 30% of annual farm cash receipts. Farmers are very interested in being able to export because it brings that premium. It's a great return on investment. Every dollar that goes out, $1.40 comes in. That's $1.40 that farms can use to invest in their business, use to hire folks. It's a great economic proposition, and export-related jobs pay higher than other jobs. So it's something that we're interested in building on in our strategy, on building the exports, building the opportunities for our producers, and give them access to 90% of the world's customers that are outside the U.S. So, what we've done in terms of trying to grow export growth, we've invested $3 million in international marketing in the last 4 years. That includes opening offices in China, India, UK, Russia, Mexico, Costa Rica, Canada. Those are all places that we see as strategic markets for Virginia products. These are existing trade partners or trade partners that we want to build upon. China is now our #1 trade partner in ag exports. I think they were number 2 or 3 4 years ago, and now they far exceed the next closest, which is Canada. So we're starting to pay dividends on the investments there. The trade missions that the Governor and Secretary Hinkle will be going on, they've already been out to China. They've been to the United Kingdom. They'll go back out to Southeast Asia later this fall. So they are continuing to build on what they're trying to do with international trade. VDAX itself also conducts trade missions, reverse trade missions, where we will host potential investors or companies into the Commonwealth, and that's where we'll work with the local economic development officials if they want to, if a company wants to look at locating a plant somewhere. I know we've been in the valley with a number of companies. We work hand in hand with local economic development folks to try to identify those areas that might be a good proposition for an international business looking to locate or expand. So the payoff on all this, we've had more than $700 million in new deals since in the last 4 years. We've had a 27% increase in export value up to $2.85 billion. That is a record for Virginia. We've set records, I think, the last 3 years on increasing our export numbers. This is all being done in a slow economy, so it's been a great achievement for our producers. When the Governor announced $2.85 billion earlier this spring here in Richmond, he then, and I'm pretty sure nobody queued him, he said we're going to need $3 billion next year. So I've been told that we are on a trajectory that we might be able to do it, which would be a huge hit for us to pull that off. We were able to have poultry ban lifted in China. We worked on that. That's at least another $20 million in new exports for those products. So we think we can achieve that. And then you can see the growth in our target areas, and as I mentioned, China, 210% in sales in the last 4 years. So we have just continued to sell things over there, soybeans, grains, meal, those types of things, especially. You know, we're there to grow. We've got top quality producers, great agribusinesses, great products, and a real roadmap going forward, as well as our own economic development fund, which I'll talk about, which is the Ag and Forestry Industry Development Fund. So we're excited about where we are in terms of international trade, domestic development, and how we can move forward on that. But of course, we also have to look at not only overseas, but domestically, to increase our footprint within the U.S. And one of our key tools is the Governor's Ag and Forestry Industry Development Fund. And when I came on in July of 2011, this was one of the first things that was put on my plate, because what we were hearing about were great economic development projects, job creators that either didn't create the threshold number of jobs for GOF, didn't have the capital investment, but they were still good projects, and they were projects that especially rural parts of Virginia would love to have, and we had no way of helping them. The example that Secretary Hamer talked about is Route 11 chips, right off of I-81, and how we just didn't have anything to assist her as she ramped up her business. Now her business, she's selling in the UK, she's selling in China. You can go to other states and find Route 11 potato chips. So it's a great Virginia story. We weren't able to be there to help her, but we want to try to rectify that in the future. What we've got is $2 million over the biennium, $1 million each year, and you can use these grants. There's a planning component, and there's also a recruitment or expansion of businesses component, the facilities grants. And the focus is really on the processing and value-add projects. We want to find a way to create new markets for producers. As we sat down and we talked, we said, listen, the state doesn't have the money to give individual grants for farmers. We're not going to, the amount of money wouldn't be enough to move that farmer forward, and quite frankly, there's just not enough to go around. So how do you benefit the producer? And what we lit on was, if you can create, or if you can attract a business that's processing Virginia agricultural goods, you create that market for farmers, so he's going to be able to sell in. He can potentially hire new folks, and then you've also got jobs at that facility processing Virginia-grown products. One of our key components is 30% Virginia-grown. So any facility that is going to qualify for this grant fund has to produce at least 30% Virginia-grown product, and we feel that's that way to create the market for farmers going forward. So we passed legislation in 2012, had the first grant in December of that year. So far we've had 13 facility grant projects, 11 ag, 2 forestry, private investment of over $133 million, over 1,100 jobs created, mostly in rural areas. And something we're very proud of is 70% Virginia grown being processed there. So we think we've had some pretty good success. And these grants range from $250,000 for an ethanol plant in Hopewell to $3,000 for a soybean processing facility down in the Middle Peninsula, Northern Neck area. So it runs the gamut. And what we like about it is we have the flexibility to work with localities, to work with businesses on designing a package that works, listening to what their investment plans are, and working through that. Now, we have one aphid coordinator in BDAX. We have a marketing and development folks within the agency that also assist. And then we have myself and Assistant Secretary Terry Cheenery that work with this program. So we are very dependent, again, on working with local economic development officials. Working with them to identify projects, for them to contact us and say, hey, I've got somebody who's looking at investing here or has an idea. It's a very collaborative effort on that front, and we really look to partner with local folks because they're the ones that are going to bring the projects to us and help us fund them. The planning grants were launched in spring of 2013. The thinking behind those was some counties have done a great job planning for agriculture in embracing the economic component of their of agriculture in their community. Others, it either hasn't been a point of emphasis or people just haven't thought about it. We said we want to provide money for localities to really examine where does ag fit within our economic development plan. Are there ways that we can build on this this industry and try to bring agriculture more into the conversation? And so that's what the planning grant component was. So far, we've got 19 projects with 45 localities across the state with an investment in the state of $440,000. Going a little bit more into the planning grants, because this is my plug to you all to go back to your counties and ask your economic development folks, hey, do you all need money to do an economic development plan for agriculture? Do you have money for a planning component? Because we are looking for more opportunities to use this fund. It's $250,000 annually on a rolling basis, $20,000 for single localities, $35,000 for a regional project, which could include your planning organizations, multiple counties and cities. There is a local match required, but some component of that match can be for, or can be used as in-kind. So staff time, facilities, those types of things. We have that capability in our project. And really, it's consistent with the planning study of aspects of agriculture and local initiatives to grow ag-based businesses. It runs the gamut. We've got, right now in our grants, we have had counties that are looking at whether it makes sense to build a slaughter processing facility for livestock. We've got a number of localities that are developing ag economic development plans. We have folks looking at local canneries and running those. So it's pretty much anything your local economic development folks can think of and make a case for, hey, this will help build agriculture in our county into the future. And that's what we're really looking for. The key point of the program is there needs to be a board committee or working group that really represents ag and forestry interests as you implement the plan. It could be an existing committee or board. I know a number of counties have ag advisory boards or ag work groups. Those are the types of bodies that we're looking for that has the local ag representation to really be able to inform the conversation and move the conversation forward. Like I said, we're based on impact on localities, ag and forestry industries, and then just a couple other what projects could potentially include. So some other things that we're doing to try to build on domestic capacity, domestic economic development, looking at production of non-traditional crops through crop grants to land grant institutions, sesame, chickpeas, barley, hops. Virginia State has been doing research on chickpeas. Sabra in Chesterfield is very interested in being able to locally source a chickpea supply as well as a sesame supply. That would be a huge boon to our ag producers in that area. It also ties a big employer more closely to the locals. Barley and hops and research down at Virginia Tech. I'll touch on this a little bit later, but I know a number of you are familiar with the Farm Brewery Bill. And it's something we need to do more research on barley and hops to figure out what can be grown in Virginia so you can have true farm breweries in Virginia that are growing Virginia products and putting them in their final product. We have a PDR program in Virginia, run through BDACs, providing matching funds for preservation of development rights in localities. We also have ag stewardship program, which is trying to protect water quality as we produce in agriculture. And then other things that the Secretary has been involved with in recognition of our role in economic development. He is now a board member of the Virginia Economic Development Partnership. He's also a board member of the Virginia Rural Center. So it is giving us opportunities with the premier business recruitment organization, as well as the center that does a lot of work for rural Virginia that we should have opportunities to interact with there. Part of our mission is also to diversify Virginia ag businesses. This is right out of the USDA Ag Census, which was the first slide that I cited to you. I was actually a little bit surprised at the role that direct sales and agritourism are playing right now in Virginia as well as across the nation. Nationally, it's over $1 billion, I think, in direct sales and agritourism. Right now, Virginia is 10th in the country in direct consumer sales, and we're not far behind 9th place at this point. Over those 5 years, 2007 to 2012, farm income from agritourism and recreational services grew $2.3 million. Pretty healthy component for what is a fairly small industry. And then you see the growth in those 5 years of over 60% for 814 farms now producing or participating in agritourism and recreational services. I think what the farmers are seeing as they try to diversify their income is engaging in these activities, and you see the number of farms participating rise as well as the revenue rising. So I think it's a trend that's probably going to continue, and it's going to involve both the state and local governments trying to figure out how to best accommodate that growth. That takes me into, I think the state and locals do have an important promotional and regulatory role to play when we're diversifying ag businesses, especially when you start talking about value-added processing, when you start talking about agritourism. And just a couple thoughts that I had on it. Both the Department of Agriculture and local governments are involved in the promotion of our 250 farmers markets in Virginia. Most strong farmers markets have a very strong local support. The local community has embraced them, local government is promoting them, and VDAX does the same. And it's been the growth of farmers markets in the U.S. has been astonishing. Last week I was up in D.C. The U.S. Postal Service unveiled the Forever Farmers Market stand. So you can put it on your envelope now, farmers market. So it's a big deal. It continues to grow and provide income for farmers. Aphid planting grants, again, a very strong tie between VDAX and Secretary of Agriculture and local governments. We need local governments to come to us with ideas on how they think they can promote, grow, encourage ag economic development in their areas. And then some recent legislation, and I guess I could have put on here the, I don't know if it had a big thing, the legislation out of York County on the oyster aquaculture. But we've had a number of bills in recent years dealing with that, I don't know if you want to call it tension, or the trying to accommodate additional agribusiness entrepreneurs who are trying to build their business, and then both the state and local government's interest in regulating public safety. The Farm Winery Act has been around for a number of years, and I think there were some growing pains, and perhaps it seems like most localities have figured out how to handle the wineries and some of their activities. And I think the success of the Farm Winery Act gave rise to the Farm Brewery Act, because many of your brewers were interested in doing a lot of the same things that the wineries were doing. And so that begat that, and then we had the on-farm activities bill last year, which dealt with those activities that are associated with the farm, that are agricultural related, but they're things that people maybe didn't think of originally. And it runs from pick your own operations to ice cream stands to hay rides and pumpkin carvings and all those other things that you can do on a farm that folks are looking for, but also can pose some challenge. It's a great income diversification for the farmer, but they're also posing some challenges to local governments. And when I was in Loudon 2 weeks ago, I think, speaking on craft beer, and what I told folks there is these bills aren't removing you from local jurisdiction. I think a lot of folks want to say, oh, well, there was a bill passed and local governments can't regulate it. That's not true. And when we talk to folks who want to do a business, who want to build a business, I'll tell them, you need to go talk to your local governments and figure it out on the front end rather than invest expend money, get engaged, and then find out there's a problem that's on the local side in terms of regulation. And I think it's very much a partnership in these businesses being able to grow and expand, and at the same time, local governments being able to accommodate what's going on. And the state has this challenge as well. For VDACs, it's food safety. Folks want to be able to sell a number of things that they're producing on their farms and in their homes. Virginia has some of the one of the largest number of home kitchens in the country. But we regulate for food safety, and there are certain products that our folks don't feel comfortable allowing into the community food supply. But at the same time, we're grappling with this thought of farmers, producers wanting to diversify their income, wanting to bring more things to market, and it's something that we continue to grapple with, and it's just going to take time to work itself out, over the course. So I think we've got this unique dual role of regulating, but also promoting and striking that balance. So in conclusion, I think we've got an infrastructure that set us up for great growth, quality producers, agribusiness. We're in the economic development plan. We're front and center on that. We've got a governor who's committed to continuing to grow it. We've got international trade offices. We've got our own economic development fund. And I think we've got a great number of entrepreneurs and agribusiness who are looking for ways to get Virginia even further along